edition of Target Score Winnipeg. I am Joey Slattery, alongside me Taylor Allen, and championship weekend is finally here. The Sea Bears had a couple of, will have had a couple of weeks off before they play on Friday, taking on the Calgary Surge, who had to win 2 games to get to this point. But man, it's here today. We got the Final Four set. We've got Winnipeg, who got the host position. You've got Calgary, who call it an upset against Vancouver. I think they were both really good teams, but we'll get into that and the drama of that game for sure. The Scarborough Shooting Stars getting through, and of course, Niagara River Lions there as the top team in the Eastern Conference. But man, how excited are you for this week?
Joey, it's been a long summer of breaking down Winnipeg Sea Bears games that technically, they weren't meaningless, but they were technically meaningless because, we all know that their spot in the Final Four was signed, sealed, and delivered since day one. So, Joey, I am so thankful to finally be talking about a Sea Bears game where the end result finally matters. It's about damn time.
We were fabricating meaning, if you will, throughout the season.
Basically,
it was. Let's say this: we'll probably talk about this in the postseason stuff, so we'll get too into it. But it like I've told people, it's been a weird year because the storylines are important, but it's just different when you're not playing for anything on the line. But now, the proof will be in the pudding. Was everything worth it from this season and all the turnover and, the people coming in, going out, and the losses and the adversity? Does it pay off to a championship? We're going to find out. 2 games remain on the CBL season in the West Conference. You've got the conference semifinal, and then the championship. The winner will move on to the Sunday game on Sunday, August 24th. But Calgary coming in with a bunch of momentum today. They welcome into Edmonton. Not a great start in that game. They gave up 50 points for a team that only gives up 85 in a game. Things weren't looking great. It looked like Edmonton kind of had them against the ropes for a bit. Second quarter, they pull away. Edmonton comes back, and then again, you're like, is Edmonton going to pull this off? They take care of business in target time, and they have a quick turnaround after that. So they beat Edmonton, and then they're supposed to leave the next day and arrive mid-afternoon in Vancouver. Because of flight delays, not sure if you heard of the news, but flights are getting canceled and delayed left, right, and center because of the whole Air Canada strike thing. But they didn't get in. They were supposed to get in mid-afternoon. They got in so late. It was near 10 o'clock, I think, between 9 and 10 p.m. Pacific time into Vancouver. They had to skip their shoot-around because the time slot was missed, and they had to play the next day at 12:30 in the afternoon Pacific time. And, the big thing is Vancouver having a week rest help? Is it going to be affected that they, were thrown out of routine, so on and so forth? Well, they weren't thrown out of their routine too badly. They played an incredible game. They pretty much ran the table until the second half. Mitch Creek had ran into some foul trouble in the first half. He had 3 fouls. I think they were down as much as 10 at halftime, and Mitch Creek comes back, 20 points. I think he had like 10-something rebounds, bunch of assists, and brought Vancouver back into it. And then there was the end that had a lot of controversy and adversity to it. So before we get into it, we'll just explain what happened. There were a series of fouls that were overturned by video review. I think there was some confusion with fans. I was at the game covering it on TSN, and you can sense the confusion in the crowd. The people were pissed because they thought what was happening was the refs were just deciding out of nowhere to review these fouls. But the rule is, and it will pertain in the championship game as well and the conference finals, if a foul is committed in target time and the foul shots could lead to a game-winning shot, they have to review it through a third-party video review, which is based, I believe, in Toronto, and that trumps the call, right? So it doesn't matter what the ref calls. It's overlooked, and whether they want to or not, or any coaches want to challenge or not, it does not matter. It's automatic. They get the review, and the call either stands or it's overturned. An overturned one. The big one was the last one on Evan Gilliard. There were some videos that went out from some Bandits players stuff trying to point out what they were trying to do. At the end of the day, Evan Gilliard tried to put a shot up, and the video review said he was in the motion of shooting a 3-pointer. So he got 3 foul shots, and that decided the game. They were down 2. They needed 3 to win. Vancouver needed 2 to win, and they got the 3 foul shots to win that game. And it was very hostile afterwards. Things are being thrown on the court and stuff like that. So, happy everybody was out okay, but it was a very, very controversial end. Taylor, you're watching it on TV, and I know like there's some confusion probably for viewers as well as to exactly what's happening, but it's a crazy end of the game, but to me, it didn't really matter who won. I thought both teams deserved it. Both teams played really well, and to me, they are the two best teams in the league.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's a good chance that was the CEBL championship game. I mean, they were the top two teams in the league. They're the two deepest teams in the league. And, they had all the signs of a game that was going to be a classic. Both teams were trading blows going down to the wire. It's like, okay, perfect. Here we go. And for the game to end like that, I didn't care who won, right? Didn't mean anything to me. But just to see the game end like that with the controversy and everything, it was a bad look for the league, honestly. Like, that's not the talk that you want heading out of a game like that. You don't want to see a game end like that. I mean, you don't want to see any target time, and free throws, never mind a controversial call like that on that stage as well. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it just kind of left a sour taste in all CEBL fans, supporters' mouths heading into the most important week of the year. And that's really too bad. And, this Calgary team is a fantastic story. Like, they pulled off not a massive upset, but they did pull off an upset against the Vancouver team that was rolling since week one, right?
To be
And
fair,
really,
Calgary was their kryptonite all year.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, but Vancouver, I mean, they were the top dog in the league really all year long. And it's just kind of a bummer that no one's really kind of giving Calgary their flowers right now. The talk is how kind of crappy this ending was. But Joey, I mean, never mind me. Your boots were literally on the ground there at the Langley Event Center. You said it was hostile. You said people are throwing stuff on the floor. I mean, take us there, man. Like, what was it like? What were you hearing? And did you get hit? Did you get hit in the head with anything? Like what was going on?
I didn't get hit in the head, but I actually did hold on to it. Like there's like a little, like they gave out sponge basketballs, like like those little like promotional things, and one fell our way when I was doing the post game interview with Jameer Nelson Jr. So I kicked it off to the side, and after I was done, I picked it up as a little memento. But no, it was very hostile, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Tay. Like for me, that's the one big thing is like the way it lost has dominated so much of the conversation. I can tell you, I was in Vancouver like the day after. I didn't fly out till the next night. So, it was a topic of conversation with people that around the league. It was on the news in the morning, that morning. People were upset, and rightfully so. The rule is what it is, and that it played a factor as it does, right? And I don't think anybody wanted it to get to that, but the calls were supposed to be right through the video review. The part of all this, I agree with you, is how well Calgary played. Like, we're not talking about the fact that Jameer Nelson Jr. had 39 points in that game. That is a CEBL playoff record. He was playing insane. Evan Gilliard was playing unreal. And like, can we talk about the fact that 5,000 hostile fans, upset, had just thrown stuff, I mean, I remember there was like two young like kids like in the like right in front of the net pretty much. I was like, oh, I didn't know they were allowed to be there, and just jumping at him. And this guy, like, he practices his foul shots to know, like, that's like the one thing that he takes like incredibly seriously, like that I would say are probably more serious than the average player would take it, or just, it's a lot of work goes into it. It's a sense of pride for him. I shouldn't compare it to other players, but I know it's a sense of pride. He works on it a lot. And there he is in a situation with whatever it was, 5,000 screaming fans, angry fans, and he had ice in the veins and hit all three foul shots. Like, as much as we don't like games ending on foul shots, I agree with you. It's just not as exciting. But you put that into context, to hit three in a row under that kind of pressure, like that is a true pro. Vancouver battled back in this game too, right? Like yes, it did come down to those calls for sure, but Vancouver had to battle back. It's not like, I think it would have been different. Like the part that I have a hard time with the conversation is just there's so much on it. And I'm not saying it's for bad reason, but sometimes it kind of feels like if you didn't see the score, you'd think they battled back in target time from down like 25 points and all the calls were going their way. Like it was a close game the whole time. Like, and I think what happened is a system that was supposed to help a situation like this where it's close and you want to make sure everything is right. Well, suddenly, everything's turned. And I know like a couple of the coaches were saying throughout the game, these aren't reviewed. So it was a foul or wasn't a foul in the first, second quarter. now suddenly is or isn't in video review through this third party or whatever the case may be. So it can change the trajectory of the game or how the rhythm of the game, whatever. But I do think, I feel bad for the Calgary team in the sense that, they're not getting their flowers right now. It's been overshadowed what they were able to accomplish going through here. And, I'm sure those players looking at it too, like, that'd be tough if I was at the other end of that. But like at the end of the day, you're off and you have to put it behind you, right? And don't get me wrong, this will be a conversation throughout Champ Weekend, right? Like this is not going to go away. They're going to hear about it. Sea Bears are going to hear about it. Scarborough is going to hear about it, and Niagara is going to hear about it. Now everybody knows about it, right? It's not a surprise anymore. And I'm sure, we'll hear more about it from the league as it goes on, or as the week goes on, but Calgary's not a bad team. Calgary beat them 3 times this year, and then they beat them a 4th time in the playoffs. Like the hardest part was, and they talked about this during the broadcast, even before everything, was one of those teams had to go home, and they had the 2 best records in the league. Entire league. Those are the 2 best teams. And the best team this year was Vancouver. They had 5 losses in the regular season. 3 of them came to Calgary, right? So Calgary is not some slouch coming in here. I think they're a really complete team. They're the most entertaining team to watch in terms of athleticism. And they just bring a style of play that's, different from everybody else. I remember talking to Caleb Canales ahead of that Edmonton game. And he's like, we don't look at basketball as a science. We look at it as an art. And I think that's a very good way of putting it, the style that they play. It's very free-flowing, and it allows them to be very creative, and it makes for some exciting basketball. So that all said, we are in for an exciting basketball game on Friday when the Sea Bears host the Calgary Surge.
Are we, though? I mean, I've had a lot of people say to me, do the Sea Bears have a chance? I mean, do you think they could actually win? And I don't know, Joey. There's a part of me that thinks there's going to be one of 2 outcomes. Either Calgary's going to wipe the floor with the Sea Bears, or the Sea Bears will pull off a closely contested win. Which that'd be, I'd send all the fans home happy, obviously. But it's so hard to break this game down, considering that Winnipeg hasn't played in 10 whatever days.
Totally.
They've been chilling. They've been fishing. Literally, they've been being tourists around Winnipeg, which we'll get into with Trey Scott in a minute here, trying to kill some time, trying to figure out who they're going to play. And while Calgary's been grinding, they've won 2 crazy games. Momentum's high. They're rolling. And I don't know, sometimes in sports, the bye ends up being a huge curse, because, again, you're kind of just sitting on your hands, and you're practicing hard and you're saying you're doing all the right things and stuff. But at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do that can replicate a high intensity playoff game and the emotions that go with that, and the high that you get from surviving a do or die game like that, not once, but twice that Calgary has, right? So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting Friday night. And Calgary has been a team that the Sea Bears, have always struggled with in their 3 years existence. I mean, Vancouver was the number 1 team in the league, but I don't think any Sea Bears fan should be like, oh yes, they lost, now we get to play Calgary. Because no, the Sea Bears have never really done that well against Calgary. And yes, I know they did beat Calgary in Calgary the other week, but I mean, you look at this Calgary team right now. I mean, Evan Gilliard Jr., insane. Jameer Nelson Jr., record 39 points. And again, it's too bad that's performance is kind of overlooked by the controversy and whatnot, but that guy was playing out of this world. And then Greg Brown, a guy who's played 70 NBA games. I mean, he's the third name that I'm mentioning. And this is a guy who's been insane. One of the best players in the league, one of the best athletes in the league. I mean, you just watch this guy, like, okay, that guy's built like an NBA player. It's no surprise that he's played 70 whatever NBA games, was a former 2nd round pick. So he's got one of the best resumes in the entire league. So the Sea Bears, it's going to be a massively daunting task on Friday, but it's a wacky league, man. So who knows?
Well, I'll say this. First off, I got so excited. Trevon Scott is coming up. We have a conversation with him. Really cool dude. If you haven't had a chance, it's been tough. We got a lot of turnover. We'll talk about that with him as well. But a true character that's coming here, a guy with some NBA experience as well, and really helped kind of turn the Sea Bears around when things weren't looking so good in terms of losing guys to Summer League. And he came in for Jalen Williams. Now he's become a staple on this team and a really good addition. So we'll talk to him in just a bit. But you're totally right, man. Vancouver's a really good team. They were the best team all year, but the Mitch Creek effect is real on that team. Like, he had 3 fouls in that first half. He was out for most of the second quarter. He comes in, plays the entire second half, puts up 20 points or 22 points, whatever it was in that half, grabs down a bunch of rebounds, and he was a big reason as to why they got back into that game, right? Like if he's not scoring himself, he's setting up for other people. But man, is Calgary just such a good, complete team. Like if Greg Brown is that far down your list, like, and here's the thing, Greg Brown could be top of the list if we're talking post-game Friday. Like the one thing about this team is they have different guys that can step up. Kyrie Thomas is never named. There's another guy who's been unreal. Gabo Saboyan. Like they've got a really, really good roster. And it's almost like as we were getting closer to it, it got less. They beat Vancouver 3 times. And I know Vancouver was missing players for those games, whatever, like, but excuses aside or reasons aside, whatever. They were looking like a team. I'm like, man, I don't think Vancouver has this in the bag. Like I was not shocked when they were up 10 and like running them out. It really was going to be a great battle of Titans, and it ended up being that. But Calgary is just like, I feel like they've almost been not disrespected. I don't think they got the full love that they should have got throughout the year, because it always felt like everybody was chasing Vancouver, right? Even though they were beating Vancouver and they beat them when it counts and everything else, the closing of the game aside, like, the fact is they won the game. But this is a really, really good team. The other thing is Calgary now is coming in off a break too, right? Like you can run the adrenaline over 36 hours or whatever it was. Like you have the game Friday night, you're flying Saturday, you got some adversity there because your flight's getting delayed, you get in late, then you just play ball. You've seen all that adversity through that you survived. You saw the craziness of what it's like to play in front of a hostile environment. Like they are very battle tested, and the rest I'm sure will be helpful for them as well. But when you have that kind of momentum, right? You've had games where you've come from behind in both games at some point, right? You were able to come out of target time on top, and now you're coming into Winnipeg. Yeah, it's going to be 10,000, whatever thousand people there. But after what they went through in Vancouver, I don't think they are scared, one iota on this. I think they're going to be ready for any environment that's been brought, and Winnipeg is going to have to play a near perfect game. Like everybody that they were brought in, this is what it is. It's single elimination. So everybody that was brought in for a reason needs to live up to that purpose at the fullest extent for Friday. And if they want a chance to play Sunday, and then they're going to have to do it again on Sunday. But that game, not to look ahead, but like even this Western game, it feels like whoever comes out of this has a really good chance at winning the entire thing, right? And winning the CBL championship. But like, here's the thing. You've had all year to think about this situation if you're Winnipeg. Visualize it, everything else. You weren't going to get the last place team in the conference final. You were going to get a team that was among the best all year and would be rolling when they got in there, right? Because it was going to be that semifinal game, the conference semifinal game. You're going to build that momentum. They're going to have to go through a hard path to get there. And now, after winning 2 games, Calgary's looking at it like, we have 1 more to go, right? Where Winnipeg has all the marbles have been here the entire time. Like now all the excuses, we're working towards things. The chemistry's developing. There's no more runway. It has to be developed on Friday. And I do think on paper, Winnipeg matches up with Calgary. But what is there to show that they're at the level they need to beat Calgary? We've seen more of it from Calgary than we've seen from Winnipeg. We've seen, spurts and stretches where Winnipeg rather has played really well, but I don't think we've seen enough consistency where you should be like, they're going to pull off the upset. It's going to be a battle.
Well, my favorite stat from the West semifinal in Vancouver was Evan Gilliard took 22 shots, and Joey, 20 of them were 3-pointers. That's insane. Yeah. But anyways, just had to mention that. But I think for the Sea Bears to win this game Friday, I think Jalen Harris has to be the best guard of the night. There's been times this year where he's been far and away the best player, right? Knocking down threes, getting involved on defense, just doing everything. But I find there's also been times this year where Jalen Harris, he kind of feels like he's coasting a little bit. And hey, who knows? Maybe the fact that he knows that, they were going to be there at the end. It's hard to treat every minute of every game like it's a playoff, do or die game. I don't know. But my challenge to him and the Sea Bears is for them to win this game Friday. I think he has to be the guy. Because, 100%. To pull off an upset, like you kind of need a guy to kind of go nuclear. And if you looked at the Sea Bears roster, Simi Shatu is, right up there with Jalen as, their next best player. But I think they need like a big time Jalen Harris game, something for him to really kind of hang his hat on and say like, hey, hello NBA. Like this is I'm desperately trying to get back to the NBA. Well, look what I did. I took down this massive team in the West Final and got the job done. So Jalen Harris, I mean, there's been games where he's been lights out. I mean, you look at the last game that they played against Calgary where they squeaked out, that 79-78 win. I mean, he just had 14 points, shot 5 of 15. I mean, just really the whole game was kind of ugly all around from both sides, and it kind of got weird at the end. And the Seabears squeaked it out, and all was good and whatever. But I think I don't know if I would expect another 79-78 type of score on Friday.
I'll say this: Jalen Harris, you're right, has to have a big game. I think this is, it should be in his DNA. Like, this is a playoff game. I think we will see that elevated level. But if he's not feeling it, it can't be forced. I think that's the other thing. There's going to have to be that early recognition that how am I going to impact the game and make it easier for everyone else. I think that's the other part, is sticking to your role, but also acknowledging that, if something isn't falling for you and is falling for your teammate, how do we get that teammate the ball? I think in real time, they're going to have to make these decisions for sure, right? It's just like, is it me? Give me the ball. Let me do my thing. Because Simi Shatu is going to have a tough time, right? You've got Greg Brown, leading shot blocker, great rebounder. So you got like legit maybe two of the best shot blockers and, defensive rebounders in the game, or just rebounders in the game, going up head to head. But then, Gabe Osaboyan's there as well. They've been good guard rebounding. So Winnipeg as a committee, rebounding is going to be huge. And the depth for Winnipeg, like, you're going to need whoever's coming off in that rotation of whatever, 7-8 guys, whatever it's going to be, like, they got to come in and put in real work and contribute on scoring, because the bench could be an area where it struggled for Winnipeg at time as well, right? Winnipeg at times as well. So not only do the starters have to play well, but anybody coming off the bench, like, it's not a time for an off day or an off night. Like, whether you're playing 30 seconds for the Sea Bears or you're playing 33, 34 minutes, like, you have to be playing your best basketball if you're going to be Calgary. And if you do find yourself with the lead, not taking your foot off the gas. We've seen too many times with Winnipeg, third quarter comes around and the other team battles their way back and either makes it interesting or wins the game outright. And we've seen with Calgary has let some leads go. They've had some sizable leads in both games, but they were able to close. As scary as it got in those two games, they were able to close. Sure, in Edmonton, they had to overcome Shawnee setting that playoff record before it was broken 2 days later by Jameer Nelson Jr. He had 36 points for Edmonton, right? So they're kind of prepared for anything. They've seen someone go off on one team, one player, and still survive. They had players on their team go off when needed. It's a very, very battle-tested team. It's not impossible for Winnipeg, but whether it's Jalen Harris, Simi Shatu, man, you name it, anybody on that team, Will Richardson, Terry Roberts, like, they're all going to have to play great basketball, and they're going to have to take care of the ball. Those you get Calgary out in transition, dude, you're going to be battling uphill all night, and it's not going to look good. The one thing Edmonton did really well in that first half of that first game, like the conference play-in game, is they smothered them, man. Like, there was no transition. There were no fast break points from Calgary in that first half. Though Calgary mentioned or admitted when they went through, the adrenaline was high. They settled down in the second half. Is that something we deal with Winnipeg? Right? As they say in hockey, you grip the stick too tight sometimes when the adrenaline's too high. And I wonder if that's something to look out for early with Winnipeg. You're going to have the adrenaline. You're going to have the pageantry of championship weekend. And is it a matter of, can you use that adrenaline and energy positively? Or is it something where you're almost a little too eager and you start forcing things where you have Calgary who'll just sit back and be like, hey, man, all the pressure's off. Even though they're the favorite team, they're in the enemy's house, right? There's almost like that underdog feeling automatically. And this team is loud. They like to celebrate. They like to quiet crowds, man. And if they can quiet that crowd down early, they're going to let the crowd know, and they can deflate the air in that building and the energy. And that's something that could be a negative to Winnipeg as well. So that start, and I know it's cliche, but I think that start for Winnipeg means everything. That first, 5 minutes until that first media timeout is going to be a huge signifier of where that game's going.
I also think it's a good thing that they're maybe matched up against Calgary, because, I mean, like I said, they have recently beat that team. They beat them on the road. Yeah. So it's like, okay.
A huge win on the road. That was their best win of the season.
Yeah, it's like, hey, even though there's some ugly parts to that game, I mean, if we could beat these guys on the road, I mean, what can we do if we play them in front of 10,000 of our own fans, right? And also there's the extra motivation of the fact that this has kind of secretly become like their biggest rival, right? The Calgary Surge. You kind of got into it with Trey Scott in the interview, but I mean, the Calgary Surge, they've had a good time this season poking fun at the Seabears for the fact that they have 4 or 5 former members of the Surge on the roster. And yeah, it's just a joke and stuff. But I mean, like, I've talked to a couple of guys on the team about it this season, and like they actually seem like genuinely annoyed that that the Surge were kind of like making those jokes and stuff. It's like, hey, well, they must just miss us or whatever, or we had to show them that what they were missing by the fact that they don't have us anymore and
It was
stuff. And
personal. Simi said that after that
totally,
Calgary win, or that win in Calgary, it was personal. So I think you have to carry that over.
yeah, and I mean, obviously it was personal because I think Simi had his best game of the year in that game in Calgary. 28 points, 15 rebounds, that massive block.
But he needs that again almost.
Time.
Right? Like that's the thing. Like that, you have to bring that exact atmosphere and exact, drive that you had there and replicate that, because that's what it took to beat Calgary in a narrow game in the regular season. Now you have the elevated playoff situation.
Totally. But I mean, another story heading to this, Joey, is the fact that Simi and Jalen Harris, they didn't play the last 2 games.
True.
Mike Taylor said they were, kind of nursing some minor injuries and whatnot, and they're good to go now, it sounds like. But I mean, those guys haven't played a basketball game in a long time. So what's that going to look like?
Well, the other crazy part too, right? Because like I was just about to say, there's some bumps and bruises for Calgary as well. So that might be a bonus for Winnipeg as they had the time to rest. Those guys are going to be ready to go. I don't think missing 2 games for those particular players is as big of a deal. I think they're ready to go regardless. I don't think any poor performance, I don't know, would be because they missed those 2 games. But then you look at Jameer Nelson Jr. He had those 39 points and he was off for a few minutes because he like fell into the camera guy's chair beside the stanchion, go into the hoop, and then had to go to the locker room to get taped up. And I remember going to their bench and, their team telling me like, he's good, he'll be back. We give the update. As we're giving the update, he's back and was like somehow better. Right. So, but that's the adrenaline of things again. So then you look at these guys after, week's rest, and those bumps and bruises start feeling a little bit as the adrenaline wears off. Right. What was their recovery like? Because unlike Winnipeg, they've not had a break. They fly back the Sunday to Calgary. They've got a couple of days to recover, practice. They got to be here for Wednesday. Like, this is a little bit kind of Grey Cup-ish or Super Bowl-ish in the sense that like there's a long string of things to do ahead of this as well, where Winnipeg had the advantage of just practicing and having a normal routine for, almost a week and a half up to Wednesday, when they will go into like the championship weekend, so to speak, kind of the mentality when it really kind of officially kicks off. So we'll see, man. This, like, I'm not crowning anybody. I like, obviously Calgary's the favorite going in, but it's playoffs, it's single elimination. And this is why people watch March Madness. Anything can happen. It's not winning 2 out of 3. It's not winning 4 out of 7. It is winning 1 game, and it could be 1 bad game for Calgary, 1 bad game for Winnipeg, and it could go either way. 1 bad bounce, or as we've seen in, Vancouver, it could be a call that doesn't go your way that costs everything, right? So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But let's not hold up any longer. We should get into the conversation with Trevon Scott, who was kind enough to join us here while he was going through recovery of his own. But without a further ado, here is our conversation with Seabears forward Trevon Scott. Trevon, thank you so much for making the time for us here.
I appreciate y'all for having me on here. Thank you.
So where are you right now? It looks like it's very relaxing, very dim lit. What are you doing?
And I'm just taking care of the body, man. I got a busy week ahead, an important week. I'm at Thermana, the resort type of spa
The Nordic spa, is that what it is?
Yeah, the Nordic spa. Yeah, let's go with that. I'm just here getting the body taken care of, the real cozy, real comfortable right now.
Nice. Well, how has it been going? Because you've had a couple of weeks off essentially between, you've had a week off as the playoffs were going through. Now you've got a few days here before you get into the conference semifinal. What's these last, week and a half been like?
It's been good. The coaching staff, they did a good job of like breaking it up and letting us have, our time to rest and, getting us in the gym, keeping us in the gym. So it's been very well balanced, but now it's, we wrapping everything right back up now. So.
And Trey, I see you guys have been able to be some Winnipeg tourists lately. I saw some of the guys. You guys did some fishing on the Red River, I believe, and I believe some of you guys were at the Blue Bombers game on the weekend. Take me through some of these kind of side quests that you guys have had the time to do.
Yeah, man, we had some downtime. So I'm a country boy, so I'm from the country, South Georgia. So I just asked around if it was any place I can go fishing, because I heard a few people speak about it a little bit, So the staff, they did a great job of setting it up. Me and a few guys went fishing, was catching some of the biggest catfish I ever caught in my life, ever saw in my life. Then we also had an opportunity to go to the Bombers game. That was amazing. That was dope. I was actually surprised at the atmosphere. It felt like an NFL game. I was surprised. I didn't expect that type of atmosphere, that type of game, the fans and excitement. But it was dope. It's fun that we was able to get out and do a little more. Since we had off time. So.
And you got to see a fellow Cincinnati Bearcat in action with the Bombers quarterback, Zach Claris, being a Cincinnati guy as well. So there you go. 2 Cincinnati guys in the building. Or S3.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of crazy. Like I didn't get a chance to meet him or anything, but, Cincinnati, wherever the Cincinnati guys go, I'm always rooting for them. So it's all up.
That's too cool. The fishing, though, were you like the guy leading the charge? Sounds like you've done a little bit of this before. Like, what's it like compared to doing, going fishing in Georgia as opposed to here?
Well, it was different. Well, I mean, I asked about it. I asked, and they set it up. Obviously, I asked, and some of the other guys I wanted some other guys to go, so they went. So I guess you could say I led the charge of that in a sense, but it was just just some downtime that I wanted to kill. That's what I do. That's what we do back in Georgia. The difference was I was expecting to go and catch normal sized fish that you could just take home and eat, cook it, clean it, cook it, eat it. We was catching some monsters. So, that we had to throw back there was too big for us to keep and all that kind of stuff. But, it was fun. It was fun. We went out on a boat. Majority of the time when I'm fishing back home, it's either on like a dock or, something like that. But it was fun, man. We were just snagging them left and right. So I felt like I was right at home for real.
Now I have to ask though, did you have a scale? Like how big were they? Who caught the biggest one?
All right. I'm gonna give my man some credit. Oh, so I caught the biggest fish until like the last 15 minutes. My boy Mo came in and got the last. So the biggest fish I caught, it was like 35 inches. I'm assuming, 35 inches. His was 35 and a half. So he barely beat me, but he got it though. So he got it.
A win is a win, right?
A win is a win.
Well, if you want a rematch, Trey, I highly recommend you make the trip to the Lake of the Woods area. It's about 2.5 hours away from Winnipeg. I don't know if anyone in town has mentioned it to you yet, but they have some of the best fishing spots in the world. It's actually quite common for lots of Americans, people from Minnesota, North Dakota, whatnot, make the drive up to Lake of the Woods, do some fishing there. So if you want to maybe, stick around for a couple more days next week, maybe Lake of the Woods is a place to go. Maybe you could get some revenge against Mo as well.
I'm gonna have to throw that out there, man, because I'm always up for this challenge and I'm always down to go fishing, So I'm gonna throw that out there.
There you go. Well, I guess being up for the challenge, let's get right into it. You guys now know who you're finally going to be playing in the Western Final, a team that you're obviously very familiar with, being a former member of the Calgary Surge. So, Trey, just what are your initial thoughts on, getting to play Calgary at home on Friday?
Honestly, we beat them before. We could beat them again. We know they're a very, very, very talented team. A lot of great players on their team. It's just, it's on us. It's on us to go out there and execute the way we, done the last game we played them when we won in Calgary. It's going to be an exciting game. We're going to be ready. I know they're going to be ready. Obviously, they just went into Vancouver and won. So we're just going to have to come out and handle business, like we want to be there, like we want to win. And, I think we have the talent, the type of team to finish and take care of the job,
Are you guys watching those games closely? Like how do you approach these games? They have 2 games, ahead of you. They play Edmonton to move on to Vancouver. But how much were you guys, really zoning into those games? And was there anything that you learned about Calgary through the 2 playoff games rather? Because it is a different atmosphere now, right? Like now they're playing to move on, to punch their ticket to Winnipeg, and they've got 2 games under their belt as you guys, have to come off a 2-week break and kind of put the adrenaline in overdrive with championship weekend, and assuming we're probably going to have more than 10,000 people there.
Yeah, we've been watching really closely. We was, obviously we wanted to know who we were going to play, who we were going to face, so we can, get mentally prepared for that in that way. But just again, just continuing to just watch each player. We had enough time to sit and watch each player and watch, what they do, what they want to do now. It's playoff time, so a lot of teams put out a lot of new tricks. So we was able to get a good look at, different things and just look and see the style of play that they were playing in the playoff. The pace. Just be able to come together and be like, okay, we know what we need to do. We see what type of style they want to play, and we gotta be ready for that. So yeah, we watch closely. We seen some things that they've done, and we've been on the drawing board already, getting ready for the game.
Trey, obviously Calgary's coming in hot, right? They've won, 2 straight, very close competitive playoff games to get to this point where meanwhile you guys have had the luxury of, having the bye up until this point. Is that a concern at all that, these guys, again, they got some momentum, they've been playing, they've been, out there, right? Where you guys have had this downtime. I mean, it could be a blessing for you guys, could be a curse. We don't know yet, obviously, but just, is that a concern at all though, that Calgary, they're riding high and you guys have had to kind of play the waiting game?
No, it's not a concern at all. I mean, it happens all the time, Teams get biased in the playoffs, and the teams who get the bias and still win are the teams who's locked in and who's committed to the goal, So everyone on our team is committed to the goal. We're all locked in. The coaches are all locked in. So, I mean, I think it's a blessing for us. We was able to, like I said, to sit back, watch, and learn more as a group and individually. So it's a blessing. I don't see it as a curse, and I don't think no one here sees it as a curse either. But like I said, the coaches, they did a great way of balancing, our off time with, practices and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like we just been loafing and not doing anything. We've been working also, but it's a blessing for me.
I'll start with this since we're on the Surge topic. How would you say the rivalry has kind of bloomed over the season? Because they kind of went after the Sea Bears more than anybody this year with the social media posts. The famous one being the 2023 Winnipeg Surge, and posting you and your former teammates or guys that have played in Calgary beforehand. It seemed to add a little bit of sauce, at least from a viewer's perspective. It got fans riled up. But how would you say that, having played them a few times this year and now going into the playoffs, how would you say that rivalry's kind of formed?
Truth be told, man, there's no rivalry at all.
I
don't. Me personally, I don't think it's a rivalry. I just think the Calgary Surge, they just, they miss us. They miss certain guys, and we have a good relationship with people over there. Yeah, but I said it now. I'm gonna say it again. Like, they miss us, man. That's all. So they can't get us out of their mind right now. So or throughout this season, I should say. So it's gonna be interesting. Come this Friday. We ready though. We here.
On the floor, though, this is a passionate Surge team, right? This is a team that, likes to talk, likes to have fun. I mean, in terms of the emotions, through the regular season is one thing, but when you get into the playoffs and things are elevated, it can get more heated. I mean, how much do you talk about that in terms of the mental preparation of this team? Because, yeah, they are incredibly athletic and a talented team, fun to watch, but they also like to get into it, between the whistles, things like that, and being in your ears. So do you guys talk about that at all? Do you lean into it, or is this something that you try to establish on your own game where it's, we got to turn a deaf ear to them and focus on ourselves, or do you lean into that? Maybe it gives you an advantage.
Nah, we lean into that. We lean into that. Some things it go in one ear out the other. Some stuff we don't really pay too much attention to, but we lean into it. We not the type of team who's gonna tuck our tail because someone is talking trash or somebody is, they doing whatever. We lean into that and we apply pressure right back. So it's not gonna do nothing but throw more motivation to the fire. And I know they're gonna come in super hot, super geeked up because we beat them in Calgary on the home court. But it is what it is. It's basketball, man. We all been here. We all been on. We've been on both sides of this stuff. Being a home team in the playoff game, or going somewhere and on the road and playing. A lot of guys on this team have had success in it, including myself. So, whatever they, the small trying to come talk or do this or the emotions of the game, we just play basketball and handle our business.
Trey, I'm curious what your thoughts are on how that West semifinal ended in Vancouver. Obviously, some controversy there and whatnot with how Calgary prevailed. Just curious what your thoughts are on that one.
I was confused. I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. It seemed like different calls, and they kept going to the monitor. I was hearing that they were someone else. They were on the phone getting the right calls, or from I don't know. I was confused, and to this day, I'm still confused on what was really going on and how everything really played out. But yeah, I was confused, bro. But all I know is Calgary won, and that's that.
So do you guys talk about that at all? Because so essentially what it was is the rule came in for the playoffs where any foul that leads to foul shots and could determine the game needs to be reviewed by a third party. So that's because even, post game, Mitch Creek in his comments was saying, like the refs were saying it's above us, like as above the refs for the calls and that. But, it seemed to be a confusing thing. It seemed to be, obviously was frustrating, particularly for Vancouver. But now that you've seen that, is there an advantage there? Because that might be something, too, that you have to kind of fight through that adversity, not really knowing what to expect and, being prepared for anything. Like, did you look at that game and what happened to maybe talk about that rule a little bit, or just being able to be prepared for those things that might arise that can catch you off guard?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it, once we met the next day after the game or whatever. We spoke about it as a team to be prepared for that, and so they could kind of update us on the rules or whatever. But I already know it's going to, if that happens, if the game get like that come Friday or Sunday, it's going to be it's going to be a lot of confusion going on. So, I mean, it's going to be on us to make sure we review those rules, go back over those rules, and have a clear understanding of how it works, and the timing and the situation of that type of stuff, and understand that it's not on the refs; it is above them also. So we spoke about it, not very briefly, but I feel like once the game, once Friday come, we'll really have. I think we all should have a clear understanding of it.
Trey, I think when people have talked about this summer's Sea Bears, a common thing that's came up is all the roster turnover. It felt like for a while there, every week you guys were bringing in someone different, or someone was leaving for various different reasons and whatnot. And who knows, maybe Joey and I and others were blowing it out of proportion and whatnot. But obviously, it was just kind of a strange summer, right? And then obviously, with that, also knowing that you guys had this spot in the Final Four guaranteed as well. So I'm just curious, Trey, just overall, what are your thoughts on just the summer, all the roster movement? I mean, you were one of those guys, obviously, you joined this team kind of midway through and whatnot. Just your thoughts on maybe how unique this was, and, why maybe it wasn't as challenging as maybe people might think it is, or maybe why it was as challenging as maybe people like us might thought it was.
I don't think, for me and some of the guys, it wasn't as challenging because of our personalities. We were like some, easygoing guys to get along with and hard workers on the court. So everyone kind of embraced us. Plus, a lot of the guys who came to the team knew, wasn't familiar with other players, playing with each other before, on different teams or playing against each other in college. Me and Jerry coming and playing with each other in college. Like me and Will Richardson, we from the same area, kind of, sort of, and Jalen Williams also. So, it was kind of it wasn't as challenging for us because we kind of was, kind of comfortable, played against each other and knew of each other in a sense. But from a fan perspective, I totally get it. It is what is going on? What's all these moves? What's going on? But, I think it was just a situation to where they were trying to just enhance the team whenever they can. And, they just move, they move, So, I mean, to me, I don't think it's been super challenging because of, we were wanted here in a way, and they wanted us to come here and help, and that's what we've been doing so far. So everybody embraced us, coaches, players, and the fans also. So,
okay. And you played with Terry too, right, in the G League?
Rob, yeah, my man Terry. How can I forget my boy?
Okay. I have to ask about that then, because you've got Terry Roberts and Will Richardson that became kind of the surprise tandem, right? Will kind of came in to cover for Terry. Well, Terry was gone. We weren't sure if Terry was coming back. Now he's back. You've got these, two elite point guards essentially that, you can deploy in different ways. But looking at the matchup with Calgary, you look at Jameer Nelson Jr. particularly, and Evan Gilliard II. Gilliard going off for 21 points in that first game that helped Calgary, beat Edmonton and kind of overcome that adversity. And then, he has a great game again on Saturday against Vancouver, but then you have the 39 points from Jameer Nelson Jr., a CBL playoff record. I mean, these guys seem to be really hitting their stride when it matters most. And, you guys are countering with two elite guards of your own. I mean, how much are you looking forward to those matchups, and how difficult is it going to be when you've got, not only two guards on that side, the difficulty of that, but the benefit of having two elite guards on your own? It kind of feels like early on that could be a key kind of matchup between those four players.
Yeah, I'm taking my guys over there over any other guys any day in the league, So obviously Evan Gilliard and Jameer Nelson Jr. They're most definitely they're two of the top guards, elite guard playmakers in this league for sure. But like you just said, Will Richardson, Terry Roberts, they're a great 1-2 punch, and I'm blessed to be on the same team as them. I'm blessed to go to war with them each and every night. the way they play, the way they feed off of each other in the game, it's like they've been teammates before. You know, it's like they've been knowing each other, like they had chemistry already. So just to see that and know that we have that going into this, you know, championship weekend now, and that, you know, Terry came back, Will is here, and everything just meshed together. It's good for us. It's a positive for us. So, you know, we all looking forward to the matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing those two guys go against those two guys, and you know, I have a good feeling about, you know, who coming out on top. So.
Trey, we could obviously spend this entire episode talking about this weekend, and we probably should, but I want to jump back to your Cincinnati days for 1 second here. I was doing some reading, and I saw that you were the first and only men's basketball player in Cincinnati history to earn their undergraduate and graduate degree while they were still being a student athlete. How on earth did you have the time to pull that off, man?
Man, well, I'm gonna tell you the trick. So my trick was I had all the time because I had online classes like once, you know, at a certain part of my career in college. So it wasn't like I was just going to class all day. I was able to just wake up, sit in my room, knock out my assignments, do what I need to do, you know, go throughout the day, and then come back and do it again. So shout out to the online classes. If y'all know, if you're in school, you're an athlete, and you want it kind of easier with your schedule, get online classes. I promise you it'll help. But, you know, I'm just grateful. I'm blessed that I was able to do that. I took a fifth year, so I had an extra year on top of that. So my mom was like, you might as well just get your master's. Like, you're there, just do it. And it's going to be for free. So I was able to, you know, I just took advantage of the time I had. You know, I've always been a smart student. I'm a student athlete. You know, I'm a student before athlete. So I always made sure I took care of, handle my business, you know, because I didn't want to let no schoolwork come in between that and jeopardize my career. I think that's kind of embarrassing for me as an athlete in general. So, you know, I just took advantage of the opportunity I had, man, and knocked it out and got it. I'm glad that I did.
What's the major and what's the master's in?
My major is in it's interdisciplinary studies, and my master's is in sports administration.
Okay, so what would be like the post-playing career? Would you want to like get into that realm of sports administration? Is that something that you look at? And if that is, just to follow up to make it quicker, is there anything through this experience, you know, playing with these pro teams around the world that, you know, you're kind of looking out for, and how maybe different organizations or different people make that approach?
Well, each organization, each situation I go to, I pay close attention to. I try to pay close attention and ask questions, you know, about how like the business side of things work and the GM roles and, you know, stuff, the owners, that, you know, just that type of stuff. I try to, you know, listen and just hear how things go. So just so I can pick up on skills if I want to do that. But truth be told, man, when I'm done with basketball, I think I want to just, I think I'm gonna go in business for myself, you know, like I want to be my own boss. I tell people all the time, my whole entire life career, I had a boss, you know, a head coach, a GM, someone was always over me. When I'm done, I'm going to be the top dog. So I don't know. Hopefully I can figure out something in those, you know, with those degrees or whatever. I'm searching, just, you know, browsing now. But if I don't find nothing in that, then I'm probably not going to do nothing with it. I'm going to be my own, you know, my own boss. That's my plans.
That's cool.
That's awesome, anything man. Particular? Like any kind of realm of business? Like, is there an area, an industry you'd like to get into?
I got a few things, man. I have a few different ideas and stuff like that. A few good people who I grew up with, who I talk these type plans with a lot. But I've learned that I don't want to speak on it until I'm gonna wait. I'm just trying to I don't want to speak too soon on it and let nothing So.
Okay, fair.
Is it a fishing related business? Can you at least tell us that?
That's one of them actually.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
All right, we got fly fishing hooks coming our way, I bet.
Yeah, there you go. No, it's awesome. Well, Trey, also, I mean, in addition to being a hell of a student, obviously, you're also a former NBA guy. I'm sure you'd love to get back there one day as well. Getting to play 2 games with the Cleveland Cavaliers back in 2021, obviously something that not many people can say that they ever got the chance to do. Take us through the moment where you first saw your NBA jersey hanging in a locker room, and just what was that, those 2 games like actually getting to see the floor. I know you played a Boxing Day game against the Raptors and had 6 points in 9 minutes. Obviously, you made an impact.
Yeah, man, it was surreal. It was like a dream come true. That's was my goal my whole entire life, to play in the NBA. I want to be in the NBA game. When I got that call that, God blessed me, and I made it to the, at that time. I was in awe, bro. I couldn't believe it. Like, I looked at myself in the mirror, like, bro, you did it. Like, I don't care if it's a 10-day, I don't care if it's a 2-day, I don't care what it was. Like, I did it. You know, I have a game ball. Kevin Love, he presented me the game ball in the locker room after the game. I have, you know, like official NBA jerseys and all like that with my name on it. Like, I come from a small country town, you know, and to see how far that I was able to take it, how far God took me, man, it was surreal. And yeah, you know, that's always my goal. That's most definitely my goal to get back. But you know, just thinking about it, man, it was surreal. My first game was actually against the Celtics in the Garden, and just running out. I remember being a kid, man, like watching those Celtics and Lakers final games, and you know, and just watching Celtics. Like, my family are big Celtics fans, like running out in there, working out in there, and just like, man, I couldn't believe it, man. It gave me chills, you know, it gave me chills. But it's been a blessing, man. Most definitely was a blessing. You know, it was a blessing, and you know, I put my name in the history books. You know, it says only like 5,000 some people don't who to ever play in the NBA, and I'm part of that. You know, and I scored, and I got rebounds, and I did everything. You know, so man, it's a blessing for sure. You know, something that nobody can ever take away from me.
I got chills, man. That's my dream. I just want to walk. I don't even as a player. I just want to run out on the court at TD Garden, man. That's sick. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Okay, so another cool moment though. So your favorite player growing up was Tracy McGrady, right?
Yeah,
and you got to meet him.
I did.
What was that like? Like, take us through that, because I feel like that'd be a pretty impactful meeting too, when you get to meet your childhood idol.
Yeah, it was. I was in summer league 2 summers ago, I think. Yeah, it was 2 summers ago, and I was coming down the elevator. He was walking on the elevator with his family, and I'm like, I'm not a starstruck type guy, never, you know. But when I saw him, I was like, oh, like, dang, that's T-Mac, you know. So I'm like, do I say something to him right now? He's with his family, or do I just keep it pushing? I said, man, you know what? Screw it. It's one. I don't know if I'm gonna ever see this dude again. I'm gonna stop him and say something. So, you know, I stopped him. Like, yo, T-Mac was popping. Like, I ain't gonna cap you. Favorite player, all-time favorite player, growing up, big fan, blah 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 blah. And he just stopped and like dapped me up, and we had like a 15-minute conversation, just sitting there. He had, you know, his family was waiting on him. I had one of my best friends there. He was waiting, and he gave me great advice. You know, it's crazy because he actually, I don't know how, before I met him, he followed me on Twitter. I don't know how, like, whoever run his account, the Tracy McGrady account, he followed me on Twitter, and I'm like, and I told him that we spoke about that and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I DM'd him a few times on Instagram. He responded to me. You know, we had, you know, not like nothing crazy, but it's just certain comments and stuff I say. So I mean, man, that was surreal, man. You know, for some guys, sometimes you meet your idols, and I don't want to say idol, but because, you know, sometimes you meet some of your, you know, favorite players and favorite, you know, people, important people, and they kind of be big time. You know, they kind of try to stun on you or whatever. And he was not like that at all. He was so easy going, so cool, and just respectful. You know, he took time out of his day, time from his family to stop and just talk to this random ass kid. Oh, excuse my French, this random kid. And, you know, and man, it was dope, man. It was dope, bro.
He was one of my favorite players to watch growing up as well, but it was also painful at the same time watching him dominate, because it's like, man, if T-Mac stuck with the Toronto Raptors, if he stuck with his cousin Vince, who knows what could happen. So it was like, yeah, I always enjoyed watching him play, but at the same time, it's like, oh man, like, damn you, T-Mac, man, you robbed Canada some pretty cool basketball moments if you never would have left.
I used to have the shoes, man. Like, I used to love his shoes, you know, running around playing in those. Man, it was T-Mac everything, man.
T-Mac shoes are underrated. In high school, I had T-Mac shorts. Remember, he had his like the TM1 logo.
I had those too. They're shiny. They're black. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I never got the shoes. I got the white shorts, and I played in the air. Like, man, everything was super baggy. So they were like down, like past my kneecaps. I wish I still had them. They were awesome. But I always loved like the blue. It was like the black with the blue shell toe that came across the side. And then he had like the T-Mac 2s where there's a little more black in it, but like they're kind of underrated shoes. We don't talk about them enough.
I'm actually trying to find some more. Like, I need some more of those. So if anybody out there, whoever see this, y'all hear this, and y'all know if y'all got the plug on the T-Max, man, let me know.
Oh my God. I think it's Tito Obasoto, a player for the University of Manitoba, wears T-Max. Might have been Jonam. I'm not sure, but there's definitely a player on the University of Manitoba that wears T-Max. And before a game, I had to tell him that was the coolest shoes on the floor that year.
Yeah, man. Shout out to him, because he knows something. He knows something.
So you take a meeting like that, you know, the interesting part there is the fan part, because you're a professional basketball player now, but like you still seem to have that connection to know what it means to be a fan. And, you look at even here in Winnipeg after games, right? When the kids are going up and asking for your autograph, when you go through something like that as a pro and have someone kind of give you that kind of attention, like, does it make it more important for you as kind of a role model for younger players that might come up? And like, even as you go on in your career, like how many of these kids might be in your shoes one day looking to you for advice?
Yeah, man, that's super important. I try to tell people all the time, like, some things are bigger than basketball. We are in the God has put us in a position to have a lot of kids around the world look up to us and want to be like us and want to go farther than us, like with basketball and stuff like that. We're in a position to help those kids. We're in a position to be able to give back and put smiles on those kids' faces. So that's important to me. That's always important to me. I try to tell that to parents when I'm speaking to them. I try to tell that to a lot of my other teammates. Like that's super important to be able to give back, because I was one of those kids. I was those kids one day. I didn't have nobody in my position ever who I can look up to or give advice to, who I met. So, and I know what that feeling is like. So, it's a beautiful feeling once you do connect with younger kids and you see the smile and how happy. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling. So that's super important. That's always going to be a part of me. That's always going to be a part of my journey and my identity. So, I'm always for giving back to the community, giving back to the kids, and trying to give advice and pouring into the youth.
Well, Trey, you said you're from a small town in Georgia. Just what was the basketball scene like growing up, and how did you go from a small town in Georgia to getting to where you are now?
Man, AAU, man. Like if it wasn't for AAU, I probably would have been a football player for sure. But it was the AAU circuit for me. Like my high school, I come from a football town, though. I'm from a football South Georgia, Friday Night Lights. That's what it is. But AAU really put me on the map. So yeah, shout out to the teams I played on. AAU put me on the map. AAU allowed coaches to come sit in my home. They saw me on the live circus, and that brought coaches to my home. That brought coaches to my high school. So AAU put Trey Scott on the map for sure.
Did you play football as well?
I actually did play football. Yeah, I played 2 years. I only played 2 years in high school though. I played 2 years in high school, and I was really good though. Really good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what'd you play?
Wide receiver, man.
Okay. Yeah. 6'8" receiver. Yeah, I could see how that would work. Yeah.
Throw it up. Just throw it up.
How do those skills
show? I have all my recruitment letters from the schools. I can tell you, like I was nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, really? How do those skills transfer then? Like, I feel like there's a lot of similarities between, especially at the wide receiver, the hands part particularly. But was there anything, even whether it was like direct, skill relation or, work ethic or culture things that you carried over from football that helped you in your basketball career?
I mean, I guess the safe answer to say like the physicality, being physical, being able to get bumped, get hit, and keep going and get up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's really the biggest thing that translated for me. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's probably, for me personally, that might be the biggest thing, the only thing that really translated for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I know we've been going for a little while here, so we'll start wrapping it up. But just, as we kind of shift here, we look ahead, this is a big opportunity for the Sea Bears. Not too often a team gets a guaranteed chance to win a championship at home. But, as we've seen, right, like anything could happen in these playoffs, and you still have to get through Calgary and then a very short window to prepare for that championship game to see whoever comes out of the East. But what would this opportunity mean for you, to come to a city like this in an atmosphere like this, especially considering you came in mid-season to finish this season off with a championship, specifically, ending your summer with a championship before going into your winter season?
To me, I think it'll mean a lot, that I was a part of the reason that helped bring a championship to Winnipeg for the first time in CBL history. So just knowing that, I think it'll be big for me knowing that. And just for the city, I think it'll be really, really big for the city. And for the team. I mean, with all the adversity that the team had this year before I got here, with the, all the movement, and to me it just lines up for like a winner story. Like it's like something has to go well. Something has to go right. It has to end a certain way. Just to flush everything else. Like we went through all of this. The team went through all of this to get to a certain point. And I just think that the fact that it's in Winnipeg, like we have an advantage. I know, like you said earlier, it's going to be probably 10,000 fans in there. But Man, it mean a lot, man, to come here, win the championship. We're fairly like a new team, and it's short. Being able to connect and gel at a short amount of time, and to say we did it, bring a championship to Winnipeg for the first time. I mean, it's Coach Mike Taylor said something in the locker room the other day, which was kind of bigger than basketball, So it'll mean a lot, man. It'll mean a lot, and I think everyone is on the same. Well, I know everyone in our locker room is on the same page, and we're ready for that. So it'll mean a lot. That'll be the perfect way to end your summer going into the next season.
Well, last question from me, Trey. I mean, no matter what happens this weekend, what's next for Trey Scott moving forward?
Man, Trey Scott has I have a couple different options, on both sides, like overseas, still in the States, you know what I'm saying? So, man, I'm just in just let some more things play out. I'm talking, certain contract with my agents and stuff like that. So just trying to see what's best and which route I want to take for what I, see in the future for myself. But whatever it is, it's going to be very exciting. And, I'm going to make the most of it. I'm going to do my job. So, yeah, I'm in a good situation right now.
Well, before we get to that, you've got Friday. Thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little bit here. Get back to your recovery, and best of luck on Friday, Trey. Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you.
Right, 1 second here. Trevon Scott, a fisherman. Avid fisherman, it sounds like, too, though. This one is a little different. He was on the boat. But, man, it's, I'll say this, Taylor. First off, great interview. I mean, that we could have done a whole hour and a half podcast talking to Trevon Scott. He's such an interesting guy. And, it's really cool. I think the thing that stuck out to me is just, even though he's a pro athlete that's played in the NBA, like not forgetting that, right? And still having that little bit of a fan in him is kind of cool to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, little sidebar is, today we were discussing, what we're going to do for our first podcast this week. And I think it was around, 3:00 that we reached out to the Sea Bears to say, hey, any chance we get Trey Scott on the podcast tonight? I mean, usually, for those that don't know, you don't just ask a few hours in advance if a pro athlete can join the podcast, but we took a shot, and
Trey Scott, though? Two things. Shout out to Trey Scott, but also shout out to Mia Hildebrand, to the media coordinator who got that together for us and has always helped us when needed. I know we would have liked to have more players on this year, but that had nothing to do with the Sea Bears, and that's been great partnership, and they've been a huge help, and Mia's been a huge help with lining that up. So appreciate that and her work to get that done. Because you're right, pro athletes not often ready at the drop of a dime for an interview. So, and not only that, then coming with a great one.
Yeah, and also taking the time out of their time at Thermia, which I don't know. I would have done that to talk to two knuckleheads like ourselves. So big thanks to Trey Scott for that one. But I guess in closing, Joey, I wasn't on the show 2 weeks ago when the Emmanuel Acott news broke, and you and David Larkins, a friend of the program, did a great job breaking that all down. But for those unaware, his time at the Afrobasket is officially over because South Sudan, they lost the game today to get into that quarterfinal round. They lost 78-65 to Senegal. So that game was Monday morning, Winnipeg time. The Sea Bears play Friday. Just going to throw that out there. We'll see. I think it's a 6-hour time difference. Angola and Winnipeg. So theoretically, Joey, they could probably make something work for Friday. But before you kind of get your thoughts on that, we'll just kind of break down how this Afrobasket went for E-Man. Kind of up and down, if I'm being honest. The first game against Guinea, he played 34 minutes, so clearly a main guy for this team. That was kind of the thing heading into this tournament. It was like, okay, well, this was all kind of coming together at the last second. Like, is Emmanuel even going to play? Like, is this really worth leaving your hometown team on the cusp of the Final Four weekend at home to potentially sit on the end of the bench? But yet, good for him. He played 34 minutes in that first game. Didn't have a massive impact. Had 4 points, 0 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Decent, but not huge numbers. And then the next game against Libya, played 21 minutes, had 2 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, a steal. Game after that, his minutes dropped all the way to 8 minutes. and had 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. Kind of had the Sam Mitchell stat line. And then Monday,
Zero.
well, just being honest, and then Monday against the Senegal, I believe he played 14 minutes, and again didn't even have any field goal attempts, no shot attempts, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists. So, South Sudan coming up short, and I'm sure E-Man, who knows where he's at with the decision to go and whatnot. But the past 2 games, or the last 2 games, he got out there, combining for, again, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 basically everything. Just wonder where his head's at. And, if the door is still open, and we'll get your take on that, I'd imagine maybe he'd be itching to get back on the floor and get that taste out of his mouth again after kind of 2 not so good showings, I guess.
First off, the Sam Mitchell 0 comments, viral YouTube, check it out. That's like one of my favorite sound bites in sports, right up there with practice and playoffs. Anyway, here's the thing. From my understanding, that if he's able to play, the Sea Bears would love to have him back. He was a key contributor to this team throughout the year, and it was sudden. There was a lot of drama around it, a lot of shock. I know fans were, man, what's going on? But yeah, it's, I believe that if the fit is right and he can make it back and contribute, they would have him back. I understand there has been contact between the Sea Bears and him. So not saying it's happening one way or the other, but it's definitely like the door's not closed on it. Let's say that. But the problem is now, if you're Mike Taylor and he does come back, Nathan Balamu has done a spectacular job stepping up in his absence. He's filled that void incredibly. I believe even on the podcast we talked about it, where, I was saying, he's good, but he's not Emmanuel Acott. Like, you're still missing more with Emmanuel Acott gone, but I think that gap is closed considerably, as he only seems to be getting, stronger and more confident as the season goes on, and filling in this role. The guys love him. And you asked, remember, was it I think it was Trevon Scott. We should have asked about him in the conversation, but he called him prime LeBron James in terms of his work ethic and how he works. Like, the guy is just a workhorse in the gym. So he's gained the respect of his teammates. The teammates believe in him. I talked to Alex Campbell, and he had nothing but great things to say. And he was talking about a game like early in June when he was in. They were like, "Whoa, this guy's for real." And, saying how like cool it was to see this U Sports guy taking a leap up as the new guy, right? Like a new generation. So he's like, when you're hearing words like that from guys like Alex Campbell and other teammates, like, this guy's earned the respect. So I don't know if Acott were to come in, if it's like right immediately into the starting role, it'll be a tough call. I don't know what the right one would be, but it would be another situation, as we talk about the uncertainty throughout the year. This is another one where it feels like, okay, like, he's back now, and right when you need to have everything kind of gelling and going, you're throwing in another wrinkle. I know the guys would love to have Emmanuel Acott back, and there's no love lost there for sure. Like, they're still all tight and everything like that, but I don't know. But let's see where it goes, right? We've got like, this is being recorded on Monday night. It's the 18th, and that's a quick turnaround for someone to get back, from Angola to be ready to play in Winnipeg on Friday night, and the practices between there. So let's not jump to conclusions on that.
But Joey, wouldn't that be so Sea Bears though? So on brand for the Sea Bears? I mean, it's been a summer of so much roster movement every week. I mean, come on, you might as well have one more roster move at the last minute. Come on, doesn't get any more Winnipeg Sea Bears than that.
I hate to draw the comparison, but this would very much be the Winnipeg Sea Bears Mighty Ducks D3 moment when Dean Portman comes into the change room mid-game, reading his contract or his scholarship, and then suiting up for the Seton Hall Ducks to win the game against the varsity team and become the Seton Hall Ducks instead of the Warriors or whatever they were. But maybe there's that Disney drama that we can build a movie around after this. But hey, I would love to see it. They were a good team with Emmanuel Acott. He was clicking when he was there. There's clearly something left to prove if he were to be back after the output that he had out in Angola with the Afro basket. But I think the Sea Bears have to be prepared for anything, right? If the players are, thinking about that too much, it's just, what can I do? Nathan Balamu needs to be ready either way, and if Emmanuel Acott's even thinking about it, he has to start thinking about it like from now, as in terms of the preparation and going back to the style of basketball that he was playing with the Sea Bears. But it's unfortunate almost. It's like, I'm glad he got the opportunity. I wish it would have sustained through and he had better stats to show for it. But, he's had the opportunity to represent his country now. And if he can make it back on time, he has an opportunity to win a championship in his hometown, which would be awesome. But at the end of the day, the Seabears has got to roll with what they have. And I think they're just attacking every day, every practice with the men that are there, and putting in the work with each other. And it's going to be a team effort regardless of who's on the team. Everybody needs to be putting everything in for the entirety of that game, regardless of how much or little they play in that game. But I'm sure fans and players would love to see Emmanuel Aycott on that team as well, but we'll have to wait and see.
And if not, I mean, again, Nate Balamu, hell of a story. I mean, for those that don't know, Lakehead product, was never drafted in the CEBL draft, right? He saw some of his teammates get picked, but he never had his name called, but kept grinding away. And the Seabears, they invited him to their training camp this year and really didn't guarantee him anything. There was a chance that he was just going to be a practice roster guy. And he was like, okay, whatever. Well, I'll come out and see what I can do. And, he worked his way onto the roster. I don't think he even played like the first 5 or 6 games of the year. And then he slowly kind of carved out a role for himself and whatever. And now, here he is starting for this team. And there's had to be some breaks for that to happen. But I mean, he's fully stepped into that role. And it's actually been really cool to see how quickly like fans here have embraced them. I mean, this is a guy from Hamilton. I talked to him about this. He said, there's similarities between Hamilton and Winnipeg, just kind of a blue collar, hardworking class type of people, right? And they kind of respect the grittiness style of a player. And that's him to a T. So, yeah, he's been a hell of a story, and a quick little Nate Balamu story for you, Joey. It was a few months ago. I went to a Seabears practice to go cover, do whatever story on them for the day for the Winnipeg Free Press. However, there's some miscommunication on that day, and Mike Taylor, I don't know if he didn't know that I was coming or what, but he sent home the entire team early. So I get to the Sport for Life Center where they were practicing, and the entire team was gone. And my plan for that day was to talk to Terry Roberts, I think Jalen Harris. Well, those guys are already in their cars and back in their apartments or whatever. So I was like, what the heck? Like, what am I going to do? Like, my whole idea for the day is done. I mean, these guys aren't here anymore, and who knows if we'll be able to track them down. And to the Seabears credit, again, to Mia's credit, who's been sensational this year, we ended up getting them on Zoom later, so it's fine. But in the moment, I was like, oh my God, well, what's the deal? But one of the Seabears staff members at that moment was like, well, Nate Balamu is still in the locker room. Like, you could talk to him if you want. I'm like, Nate Balamu? I'm like, come on, like, what am I going to do with that? Like, no disrespect to him, but like, I can't write a story off of Nate Balamu. Well, fast forward, 2 weeks ago or whatever, what am I doing? I'm writing a feature story on Nate Balamu because the guy's been awesome. He's been the best story of the team in this past month.
Counted him out. This is the headline. Taylor Allen counts out Nathan Balamu. Balamu comes through and saves his ass.
I didn't count him out. I just, I wasn't a believer at the moment, I guess. I don't know. But either way, it's just kind of funny how it went from that to now.
I think you're just, this is the fuel that he had. He's just like, you know what? That Taylor Allen guy doesn't believe me. Just the guy that comes in and now I got to give him a story. Now I'm helping him out and that's why he's still employed. So now you owe the rest of your career to Nathan Balamu. And he said, you know what? I'm going to prove this guy right or wrong. And then I'm going to make him famous. He's going to make you famous now as the guy that got to Nathan Balamu first and told that first story. That's his new motivation, I'm sure. But no, he's been so good. Like the story's been great. The maturity too. I mean, he just turned 25. I know like it's kind of like a little bit older, I guess, too, for like a rookie, so to speak, after doing his time at Lakehead. But I mean, he like the maturity that he shows when you talk to him, the gratitude and just, a great example of taking advantage of any opportunity you have. Right. It was talked about, when I chatted with him, saying that it was a possibility later in the Lakehead season when the conversation started. Nothing was promised. And, I don't think there was an expectation there other than maybe himself that he probably wouldn't say out loud. That he was going to make the best of the situation, and he has, and he has a really good chance to put a crowning statement on this story and make it an unbelievable start to what is his first pro season and his rookie season in the CBL, but going into his first pro season overseas this year too. So great story. And that's definitely for me, probably been the story of the year, but we can't get too much into this, Taylor, because these are the things we're going to talk about when we wrap things up at the end of the year. But we'll wrap this episode up. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
Final thoughts, just excited, man. I mean, the whole basketball country is going to be in Winnipeg this week. There's going to be so many different events, different ways to connect with people from across the country who all love basketball just like we do. So, yeah, it's going to be awesome. Friday's going to be electric. Hopefully people come out for that East final as well, because that's going to be a great game. But I mean, the 7:30 tip-off, Sea-Bears Surge. I mean, that's going to be, I've been fortunate to, to be covering sports in the city for these past 7 years. But I think Friday night is going to be, one of the highlights of my career. And never mind Sunday, if they make it to Sunday, the Sea-Bears. So, yeah, just happy that's finally here, man. It's going to be a blast. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some of our listeners this week. And if we do, don't hesitate to reach out and say hello.
100%. And stay tuned on the socials too. Obviously, I know I forgot to say this. I got so excited off the top. I forgot to tease everything like I'm supposed to, but
yeah, it happens.
YouTube at Target Score Podcast, on Instagram at Target Score WPG. Stay tuned to that because we will likely have more episodes throughout the week. This is a big week for the city, for the podcast. So going to try and get out as much content as possible. Might even have Commissioner Mike Morielli on the show a little later this week. So stay tuned. We will keep you posted as to when they will be posted and coming out. And if there's any more things coming out, we will keep you posted through there. So at Target Score WPG on Instagram, and I think Facebook as well, and at Target Score Podcast on YouTube. All the time we have. That's Taylor Allen. I'm Joey Slattery. Enjoy championship weekend. Sea-Bears playing Friday at 7 p.m. or 7:30 p.m. against the Calgary Surge. The first game, the Eastern Conference Semifinal between the Scarborough Shooting Stars and the top ranked in the East, Niagara River Lions. Going to be a great week. All starts on Friday. The festival ahead of time. Keep to our channels to see what's happening throughout the weekend. We will see you soon. Have a good one.